Perfect. Oh, that's exciting. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I see a couple of familiar faces in there. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Jake. Nice to see you. So today, like Sarah said, I'm going to be sharing a little bit of information with you from Primerica. This is a publicly available PDF, if you'd like to refer to it later, called How Money Works. Basically, what we do for our clients, we really come from a place that's rooted in education, trying to help people understand their finances, their financial picture, which I can totally see the link between what I do and what you do for your clients in terms of making sure they're in a place that is a good fit, right? There's so many things that we have to consider for people, and one of the ways that we do that is just to make sure that people are well informed about how money works, just like the brochure says. So if you do have any questions along the way, Sarah said that she would field some of those questions for us. I would suggest that probably, since we only have 30 minutes, asking in the moment is probably better than waiting until the end. It's just probably easier for us to address questions as they come up. So if everybody's good with that, I will share my screen and just get started. Okay, is everybody seeing that okay? I'm going to
Yep.
assume so. Yep. Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Because I've navigated away from the screen where I see everybody's faces. So, okay. So this, again, this is the brochure. This is something that we would give our clients after an initial meeting that we would have with them. Typically what we do, the way that we start out is offering what's called a financial needs analysis. Sorry, is there a question? No? Okay. Sorry. I just thought I heard some background noise there. And this would be something that we would leave with our clients at the end so that they could go through and review some of the things that we touched on, and also look ahead to a subsequent meeting where we would talk specifically about investments or other finances. So in this whole brochure, you'll see the table of contents is here. It's basically how Primerica operates in terms of making sure that our clients are well informed, and also making sure that we are doing the best for our clients. Our motto, company motto, is do what's best for your clients 100% of the time. I'm sure you can relate as realtors, because that's something that we all strive to do. So, there's a lot of talk about how people can get out of debt. Some people find it very challenging to look at their finances. It's one of those things that not everybody is comfortable discussing with their family members or friends. Sometimes we go to the bank, and the bank isn't always the best place to get the best advice. It's certainly not a place where you're going to get that personal touch where people actually truly care about your well-being, rather than filling percentage quotas or that sort of thing. So one of the first things that we do with our financial needs analysis is we take a look at consumer debt, like good debt, bad debt, what the living expenses are, that sort of thing, so that we can see, like how are things actually going, right? When we ask our clients to talk about thinking how they can budget, we're not advocates for, creating a very advanced Excel spreadsheet. I know that's some people's jam, but that's not really how we roll. What we do is we actually ask people to kind of do a reflective piece where they look at their spending in a 3-month period. And so they can actually see where their money has gone. Because a lot of times we end up spending money on things that we aren't even aware that we're spending it on. And, like the things that we tap, right? A trip to Tim Hortons or Starbucks or something like that. All of those expenditures add up. And sometimes when you actually see them on paper, it's a real aha moment for a lot of people to realize that, okay, I probably do have more money than I think I do. And perhaps I'm not spending it as wisely as I could. So taking control over that, right? Sometimes that's a very empowering thing for people. Sometimes it's a very overwhelming thing. Sometimes it starts out as overwhelming and then ends up landing in the that place where you feel really confident and taking an active interest in your own self in that moment. So we talk about, you may have heard this before, the idea of paying yourself first. I will admit that before I got into this business, what I imagined when I heard the phrase "pay yourself first" was, your paycheck comes in, you set aside, an allowance, for lack of a better word, for yourself. Maybe keep it in cash so that you can go and spend some a little something on yourself, treat yourself to something. And that was what I thought paying yourself first was. Well, I was wrong. So when we talk about paying oneself first, we're talking about how can you invest in your future? How can you put some money aside now that will actually help you in the long run? Because we all know that if we go for one of those quick things that we tap with, as simple as like $2 to $3 a day or more, that can add up at the end of the month. We could probably avoid spending that and instead invest it, right? So setting yourself up with even a small amount will help you with future savings, right? Sometimes that requires us to adjust priorities, right? When we feel like we're having a bad day or we want to treat ourselves, or the idea of convenience, it's very easy to slip into a trap where we're spending money that maybe could be better spent otherwise. So that in turn comes to the idea of how to change your thinking about that, right? So that you're not actually going to feel as though you're being hard done by, or that you lack something because you're not able to, spend kind of frivolously, right? Again, that leads nicely into the idea of how to adjust to your lifestyle. I've been thinking about our meeting today and how the ideas really align with what I would share with my clients and what I'm sharing with you as well. That you probably have these similar conversations with your clients when you're sitting down with them to talk about like how much they can afford. If they are selling their house or buying a house, I think that conversation would probably naturally come up, where there might have to be some adjustments that you make, right? Or avoiding the credit trap, right? That you take out a loan or take out a line of credit or overspend on credit cards. These are things that we want to help our clients. I think both of us as financial advisors and realtors would really encourage our clients to think differently about, and maybe if they already are in that trap, how we can help get them out, right? So there's always the option of earning additional income. Perhaps that's how some of you ended up in the realtor game in the first place. It might be your first career, but it might be something that you've done later on or on the side or now do full time. So those are always options for people. It's the same for myself and my husband when we took on this new job, because we're both actually teachers in the community. This is something that we're planning for our retirement. So our reasons for being here are motivated by the fact that we actually do love teaching. And when we are finished in our classroom, when that role is done for us, we want to continue helping people earn their best, be their best financial self, and that kind of thing. But that doesn't stop people from actually coming on board with us at Primerica. It's a fantastic company to work for. They do all of your training for you. And it was one of those jobs that you can do sometimes part-time or full-time. It really depends on your own availability and desire to be part of the business, right? So some of the things that we talk about, we, in that financial needs analysis that I spoke of earlier, do something called like realign your assets, right? So just see if there are ways that we can reframe some of the things that we have to make it more financially appealing and something that could come up in a positive way, avoiding that credit trap. And then this is kind of where we end up really doing like the meat and potatoes work of our job. So setting goals and having a plan. we work with our clients. We meet with them as often as a client would like to meet. Sometimes at the beginning, it's like once every couple of weeks or once a month. And then following that, it could be, if there's a change in employment or a raise, or, you've won the lottery or you've fallen into some money. But at minimum, we meet with our clients once a year and sit with them and just make sure that everything is still on track. We want to be accountable to our clients so that if we say, this investment idea that we have for you should pan out in this way, we come back in a year's time to make sure that that's actually happening. So it's very exciting to work with people and help them realize their financial goals. So setting goals and having a plan, there are no mistakes in this, right? It's about the math, what a person wants to achieve, when they want to achieve it, whether we're talking about, buying a house or buying a cottage or going on vacation or retiring or helping your kids out with their education. These are all things that we would talk about and have that plan and what that might look like, right? So again, that's when we think back to the reflective budget, right? Where is our money going? How much of it is coming in? And when it's going out, is it going out to the right places, right? So we talk about things that, we can control and things that we can't control. So we saw a couple of years ago, I think everybody in the world, but real estate specifically, was definitely impacted negatively by COVID. We had to do a lot of shifting, a lot of pivoting to change the way that we operate, right? So, but we've seen in the investment world that even though COVID really took a dip, the overall returns have come back even stronger than they were before. And if you look at things like the index chart from like the beginning of the stock market to today, there is a progressive incline up. So a lot of times we talk about, the time, the consistency, but then being aware of things that we can control and things that we can't control. Okay. Can I pause there for a sec and see if there are any questions so far?
Nothing in the chat right now. Anyone have any questions so far? You can raise your hand. Nope, I think you're good to keep going.
Okay, fantastic. So the next section in here is really going into detail about how you might pay yourself first. Okay, so a lot of times what we see from our clients and what I see in my own social media, in my personal world, people often feel like there isn't anything left at the end of the month, or that you're already in the red at the end of the month. So if that's the case, then how are you going to be able to save, right? So, pardon me. So at best, this is when we again have a look at our reflective budget, right? Looking back 3 months, where did our money go? And a lot of times we're all very surprised about where the money goes. Most of it, believe it or not, comes from groceries. That kind of spending. And it might not be like what you're actually spending at the grocery store, but that you buy all of your groceries and then life gets in the way and you end up eating out a lot. So those groceries go bad. So then like you're spending more money on things because, life gets in the way, right? So how can we maybe adjust that, or how can we change that? But the idea here is understanding why paying yourself first is so important and huge. Making a commitment to yourself to put aside 10% at the beginning of the month means that you won't lose that money by the end of the month, right? And once you start to see it grow, it really becomes a motivating factor. You realize how easily you can actually get yourself out of debt, how you can save for something, and how down the road it will benefit you, right? So when we talk to our clients about, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. We will show people how to do all of this. Okay. And I'm realizing that I'm already 15 minutes into this and I've got a lot more to show you. So since this, I can even share the link to this in the chat if you would like to look at it later. So I will kind of go a little more quickly through so that if there are questions at the end, then we can address those. So when we talk to our clients about the kinds of accounts that they would need. We talk about having an emergency fund, right? And you, again, as realtors would know just how important it is to have that. How many of you have had clients that, their house flooded or the roof leaked or like something major has gone on. And when we don't have an emergency fund to address that, it's a problem, right? It could be the difference between selling a house and not selling a house, right? When we talk about short-term savings, this could be anything from, planning for a trip or buying new furniture for your house, if that's, whatever it is that you might need. And then something called like the long-term savings and investments. Now, for this one, it's kind of misleading when we say, you need 3 accounts, because most of our clients have more than one long-term savings account or investment. And that's because when we talk about the investment types, we're talking our SPs, right? For retirement, we're talking about RESPs, we're talking about TFSAs. There's also something called an RDSP, which is a registered disability plan. Not everybody has access to that, but there are all kinds of different programs and reasons why we would have accounts for different reasons. So definitely 3 accounts, but within this 3rd account here, there could possibly be several under that one umbrella. Okay. When we are talking about investments, and this is the part that always gets me very excited, talking about using time and consistency, just how powerful time and consistency actually is. I turned 50 this year. So I sometimes when I look at the ages, and I'm just like putting this out there as like a little warning shot, don't worry about the fact that if you're older than some of the ages that I'm about to share with you, that you have somehow lost out. Okay. We're talking about, you start where you are, however old you are, all of the math and all of those numbers do work out the same. Okay. So someone once said that the only 2 things that life gives you are opportunity and time. So this is true, I think. So time combined with 2 other important elements, the rate of return, so how much you're actually getting back from your investment, and how consistent you are in investing, right? Like putting money every month. That is what's going to put you over the top. Okay. So here is why it pays to start investing early. And this is a lot of where my husband and I get really excited to speak to young people. We're both high school teachers, so we talk to them, stay in touch after high school. And when I get to sit with a young person, like 18 to 21 or 30, even, like those are still young people, I get really excited about the kinds of information that I'm about to share, because there's so much time ahead of them, so many opportunities. So let's say, for example, that your parents had decided to deposit $1,000 on the day that you were born, and they put it in an account, left it untouched until you turn 65. That account would have grown to $339,000 without you ever having to add another penny. Okay. So that kind of gives you the sense of, if you start early, you have a good rate of return, you earn compound interest, that money just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's kind of exciting. So when we talk about, don't pay the high cost of waiting, sorry for that. There we go. A lot of times, and I am myself in this category. Okay. So like, there is absolutely no judgment here. It's never too late to start saving. But I always felt like I didn't have enough, right? Having children is expensive. Going on mat leave is expensive. Having a house and having all the debts that, like, even if you have a nice, good, high paying job, you often usually have a lot of high expenses that go out at the same time, right? Childcare, groceries, like just the cost of living. So I personally never felt like I had enough money to put aside. It's like, I'll just wait until I have a little bit more money at the end of the month, and then I'll start investing. So I think to myself, now at 50 years old, if someone had shared this slide deck with me when I was 25 or younger, or even 30, my idea about investing and saving would be very, very different. So if you look down here, I hope you can all see this well. So let's say your goal was to save $500,000 for retirement at age 65. here's how this chart is going to show you the difference that time makes, right? So if you were to begin at age 25, you would have to save $106,000, or sorry, $106 every month to achieve that $500,000 retirement. So what that would essentially mean is you'd set up an RRSP for your registered retirement. You would put that into an account. You would get a rate of return that is around 9%, which is very achievable for like that amount of time and investment horizon. You would have that at $106 a month. That's all you would need, right? That's not a lot of money when you think about it. That's probably going to Tim Hortons every day. That's all it would take. If you were to wait until you were 35, now to reach that same number with the same rate of return of 9%, you would have to save $271, which is 2.5 times more than had you started 10 years earlier. If you wait until you're age 45, now you have to save $743 a month, 7 times more, right? If you wait till you're 55, well, you can see how the numbers keep going up, right? So the sooner you start, the less you have to save consistently. And if you start at, say, age 25, saving $106 a month, and you make a commitment to yourself to never change that, you would have $500,000 for retirement just sitting in your back pocket. Okay, so the idea here is the sooner you begin to save, the greater growth on your investment, right? The time that you put in, the consistent investment, and the horizon of which you're going to keep saving. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
I just wanted to ask if I can't see anything up on the screen. Like I just see everybody, so I'm not sure if you were sharing a chart at that point in time.
Yeah,
No, I
there
can
was
see
a
it.
presentation the entire time.
Yeah, we see it.
You see it. That is
Yeah.
so weird. I don't know
My
what
Zoom
happened
account
with
had that
mine.
issue a couple days ago.
Okay, never mind. It's me.
Oh,
Okay.
Jake, how did you fix that? Because maybe Angelique
It just
can
fixed
do that.
itself. It
Well,
just
it
fixed
did?
it's a
itself. I
team
don't know.
account. It's a team account.
That's why. 'Cause, yeah, I think I
So
was logged into the team
Okay.
account too.
awesome. All right. Thanks.
Do you know what? Let me just pop the, see if I can share this in the chat, and then that way you can also follow along. Hold on, I gotta move this to get to the chat.
That would be great. Thank you. It was there and then it wasn't.
Okay.
Awesome.
That, let me know if that comes through. And oh, I see 2 questions here based on what investment return. Yes, so that the example is on a 9% return. That's a great question, and Jake, thanks for answering that. I didn't see that in there. Okay, if you can't open that, let me know. I'll go to an outside source. And oh, I want to share a folder with you. Okay, I'll have to share it with you from a different location, but I will share it with you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let me just move that over here. So the idea is, time and consistency, that's what you can get. Now, a 9% return for a long-term investment is actually, from what I've seen in recent years, most of those types of long-term investment are actually coming back at a 13% return. So if you were to be putting $106 away, you would end up with more than $500,000 just because your rate of return is higher. So the rate of return is key. And that's something that we review with our clients on a yearly basis, just to make sure that things are going well. Nothing makes me happier than when I go back and sit with my clients a year later and we say, okay, so this historically has been giving us a 9% return. And then the year, a year or two goes by and it's actually realized a 13% return. We're like, woohoo, it's just like found money. I like to have the analogy of like, we're just going to make your money grow. We're just going to keep watering it. Right. So this, you may have heard of this before, the power of compound interest. Oh gosh, I have 5 minutes left. This is a really quick 30 minutes. So when we talk about compound interest, it is the idea that when you put money into your account, like there is a rate of return. If you divide your rate of return into a 0.7%, it will tell you how long it takes for your money to double. So when we talk about compound interest, that's what we're talking about, that more, the more money that you have and the time that you have and the return that you have, that is going to double in a shorter amount of time. So your money is actually going to grow even faster than you expected. Okay, so there's a chart down here that kind of shows that. This is a hypothetical. It does not represent an actual investment, that kind of thing, but it shows you what that would look like. So in 10 years, right, if you put in $20 or $100 a month, how that would grow, right? So this is showing you your money, the compound, the interest itself will continue to grow. So the more you put in, the more you have the potential to do that. But once you are playing with more money, that compound interest actually gets very exciting because you're going to have a lot more money than you thought. This is the idea here that I was just touching on a second ago. So it's called the Rule of 72. As a high school teacher, I know for a fact that this is not something that we teach in schools. Financial literacy, I think, is one of those things that we have to do in our public education system. I think we need to do a much better job. This is the idea here. So the Rule of 72 is that let me see if you can see it here. Your money will double at a certain point determined by dividing the number 72 by the percent of interest. So here we have 3 different interest rates. Okay, so let's say your rate of return is 3% versus 6% versus 12%. Okay, let's think of these colors as investors. Okay, so everybody, 3 people here are starting out with $1,000, $10,000. Everybody starts out with the same amount of money. Okay, for the person who is earning 3%, when we divide 72 by 3, that gives us the number of 24, which means that it will take us 24 years to double our money. And then it will take an additional 24 years to double that again. Okay. If our rate of return is 6, then we're actually going to double in 12 years. But then that number is what doubles again in 24 years. And that number doubles in 36 and 48. And if there's a 12% return, you're doubling every 6 years. So you can see the difference. This slide really illustrates well why your rate of return in the investment really, really matters. When we go to the banks and we get things like passively managed mutual funds or even actively managed mutual funds, those things are kind of working with outdated data, and they're not going to keep up with the current rate. So what we offer, the 2 companies that we work with at Primerica are AGF and Mackenzie. They're both Canadian investment groups. We work with what I think is the best of what our country has to offer in terms of investments. There are many other things that are in here. We're only on page 13 of a 32-page document. So I realize we're at 9:28 and I don't want to go over time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can just quickly pop out and get a PDF that everyone will be able to have access to. In the meantime, though, I'd love to take any of your questions in 1 minute or less, I suppose.
Hands up if anyone has any questions. And Karen, we can always share the link to the Google document with everyone as well, and then they can request access. So that way they can just connect with you directly as well.
That would be so fantastic. The only problem is I have a lot of other things in that Google Drive folder. So what I'm sharing here, the second one, the one straight off the web, that's the better one to look at for a reference. But by all means, if anybody has any questions for yourself personally or for any of your clients, I'd be very happy to talk with you outside of this meeting. It's been so great to meet everybody, even though it was just virtually and I didn't see your faces for the whole time. I appreciate you making space for me today. I hope you got something valuable from my talk and that going through the PDF yourself later. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'd love to chat with you more about it.
Before we leave, we do have one. Michael is asking, can you touch a little bit on MER fees on investment?
Sure. So the MER is something that is set aside by the mutual fund company themselves. So that's with AGF and Mackenzie. They are very transparent. So depending on what mutual fund investment or investment product or vehicle that you end up going into, that is something that we disclose. We call them, they're called fund facts. I always have to pronounce the D because it sounds like fun facts, but it's like the mutual fund facts themselves. That is all worked out in the MER. When we talk about the rate of return for you, so if it's a 9% rate of return, we're talking a 9% rate of return net of fees. So all of the fees that are associated with the MER or anything that we charge for ourselves, like that 9% is net of fees. So you would have already paid those fees and you're still getting that 9%. I don't know if that answers your question, Michael.
We're gonna take that as a yes. He says
okay.
yes.
Okay, great.
So good.
Great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Karen,
No
thank
problem.
you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. We'll be sharing the link that you sent through of the PDF with everyone as well. And then also your contact details. So if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Karen directly or her husband, Jeff, and who we unfortunately did not get to meet today. But yeah, so you'll definitely will be able to connect with them directly.
That'd be fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody.
Have an amazing day, everyone.